Thanks to everybody in the audience for joining us. This is our second episode, and in this episode, we'll be talking about partnerships. If you remember in the last episode, Dana talked a lot about his brother being his partner, and so we're gonna kind of do a deep dive into that. And also, we're going to be talking about the kind of dynamic of this podcast and what you can expect through this podcast. This is the weekend wrap up. Ready? Aim, fire. All right. So yeah, as I was mentioning before, you talked about your brother being your partner. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Like kind of go into it at a deeper level. Talk about how you felt like he was a good fit for the business. How you discovered that it was going to be a good decision to bring him on as your partner? Was it like just the right place, right time, or him being your brother, you knew stuff about him that would help in the business, starting the business?
I think it was both. Growing up with him, I knew that he was a man of integrity and be able to work in the office to take care of that side of the business, and just a real hard worker, and he just contributed a lot to the business and what we were offering to the customer.
Awesome. I think you said something really important at the beginning there, and you said that you knew you could trust him. If talking to the audience, if you haven't read the blog post that talks about this, I recommend you go there. It's the 5 things to look for in a business partner, and the very last thing that it talks about is being able to trust the person that you partner up with. And so, see the other qualities of an entrepreneur, like you were talking about with your brother, like his ability to analyze the business, his work ethic, and all of those other attributes that you mentioned. Too many entrepreneurs see those attributes and don't even consider, do I trust this person or not? And unfortunately, there have been way too many cases where partners have stolen from the company or done something. You were talking about how you saw that he had a great work ethic and that he had great analytical skills.
I put my cards on the table and let him know what I was trying to do, that I was, let him know that I was excited about it, that I needed help. I needed his strengths, and I felt like we would be a good fit. And I don't remember if at the time I realized that he would do so well in the office, but I'm sure that we talked about, exactly what was going well and what we needed to fix in order to make the business go well, and to be able to service the customer and to service a lot of customers.
That makes me think of, I guess I should back up a little bit. Something else that you mentioned that actually is what brings this to my mind is you said that you mentioned that you needed his help with what you were trying to do because you couldn't really see a way to get things done just by yourself. So that reminds me of when I first approached you to join this podcast. I was thinking that it would be kind of hard for me to run a podcast by myself. There are a lot of podcasts out there that have the host interviewing different entrepreneurs. So that's like a really common form of doing it. But at the time, I was listening to a podcast that they had 2 people in the podcast, and they were just kind of having a conversation. If I remember right, I might be wrong, but there are 3 types of podcasts. The one where you have the interviews, the one where you have somebody doing it solo, and then the conversational. I felt like the conversational podcast would be best for firepreneurship and its audience, because we can see that that dynamic of a conversation that we're having between two people that I feel like will bring a lot of value. At least while I was listening to this podcast that I was mentioning before, that was something that I saw as a benefit to what they were doing. We were able to see the 2 points of view. We were able to see how those points of view were changing or solidifying according to what they were learning. And that's kind of the dynamic that I want to bring into our podcast. As mentioned in the article that this podcast episode is following up, and as you've mentioned a number of times, you've been at it for 36, almost 37 years. And so having you in the podcast will help us have that aspect of somebody that has been, quote, been there, done that, and is able to talk from experience. And then me, on the other hand, I don't have the experience that you have. I haven't learned the lessons that you have. Learned them from you and also from my own experience. But it's also kind of like the dynamic of, say, like a fish tank where you can sit there and watch the fish swim and do what it does. With this podcast, you'll be able to watch me as I learn new things about entrepreneurship and about being financially independent. And I will be able to be there with you. I mean, talking to the audience, I'll be there with you, learning with you, and I'll be able to bring things to the table, questions and concerns that you guys might have as you guys participate as well. We want to make this podcast as much as possible involve the audience.
There will be two dynamics here that will be very valuable. One is the one that you'll bring, that you're on the journey learning, and so you'll see things from a fresh perspective. And then also from my experience of 37 years, hopefully I can say things that will inspire and help anybody listening to know that each one of us really is very capable. And as we partner together, as we help each other out, we really can do things above and beyond what we are capable of at the moment. But we can join together and strengthen each other and learn from each other and accomplish together.
Another example of this is you look at Nike, their commercials that they had back in the day. They would always have the athlete that's strong, that can do all of these awesome things, and that was like always their commercial, where you can aspire to be this like perfect athlete. And then later on, they had a shift in their marketing where somebody came on that helped them change that aspirational aspect into inspirational. This person used their own story and was able to bring that inspirational aspect by showing like, hey, I'm not the perfect athlete. I haven't always been the way that I am now. This is my story. If I remember correctly, he came from a background of obesity, and I think he was even diagnosed with cancer. And so people were able to see that and feel like the commercial was more relatable to them. And so it turned from aspirational to inspirational. And that's the goal with this podcast is Dana, you being in your position of experience and knowledge, you bring the aspirational side of the podcast, where people want to be, where you're at, where you have a successful business, and you're living the life that you've always dreamed of living. And then I bring to the table the quote unquote inspirational side, or I guess better way of saying it, relatable side, because I'm right along with the audience. And obviously the audience is going to be at varying levels. So I'm not with every single person, but I am with a lot of people in the audience. All right, I think we've driven that point home pretty well. Do you have something you want to add to that, Dad?
No, I think you hit it on the head. Just to summarize, it's very important to not only know what you're seeking after, but also to find inspiration along the way so that you can, continue to put one foot in front of the other and continue to tweak your business, even very small ways. And as you add all those small improvements together, you can have an awesome business and one that's very much enjoyed by your customers to be able to take care of their needs and help them out.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for adding that. So let's move on a little bit, talking more about like the benefits of having a partner. Something that I know that that you are helping me with is staying focused and putting in the reps, doing those things as much as possible to be able to make my dreams come true. I remember in the last episode, you mentioned that when when you weren't feeling up to working, to having a go at it or a go of it, you would turn to your brother, and he was there ready to work, and so he pushed you to work. And then also the opposite happened. So yeah, I think that's a great benefit to having a partner, is always having that motivation to keep moving, to keep going. Because when you go at it alone, it can be really hard to be self motivated to get past those times that we all have, that we're all going to have, when we just don't feel like moving forward. That person can be there to give us that push, the push that we need to continue moving on.
Yeah, let me just throw in a little bit there. It's important to note that there's just lots of things that get in the way. Some of it's just fatigue. Sometimes you're just tired. And the fact that someone else is moving forward helps you to sometimes to even just get a second wind by working through that fatigue so that you can accomplish, those things that are important for you to accomplish that day. Sometimes it's that you feel discouraged. Things aren't going well, and the other person, luckily, is not feeling the exact same emotions you are at all times. And so when they're feeling steady and determined, that can help you get past those feelings of discouragement. And sometimes you're afraid. You're afraid that things aren't going to go well, and you can let those thoughts come in, even in an avalanche, and the other person can really help you work through those, or just even watching them work steadily can help you in your determination to throw out those thoughts and to bring in those determined thoughts that you really can do this, and that it's worth it, and that you'll be successful.
Yeah, a good way that you put it, you definitely did great just now. I don't want to discredit what you just said, but something that I remembered from the last episode is you mentioned that when you were feeling down, like you didn't want to move on, your brother was there already working, and so you had that feeling of the business is moving without me, so I need to be there to move with it. And so that's a great push in the right direction. And to add to all of this, as people will get to know how we do things, they'll get to know me and know that I like to add a bunch of different examples to drive home what we're trying to say. An example that I was thinking of was in a relationship, in a marriage, or whatever part you're in a relationship, your partner in life, whether that be your wife, your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, what have you, they are there to basically do the same thing. My wife, those times when I wake up in the morning and I just don't feel excited to work, and like you were saying, there's like fear or whatever it might be that's underlying. But the point is, like, I'm not wanting to work that day, and my wife is there to be like, hey, remember, these are your hopes and dreams. These are the goals that we want to accomplish as a family. Pretty much suck it up, buttercup, and and get going, because we need this to happen. And obviously at the same time, I'm there telling myself the same thing, kind of like this example of my wife. In family life, you can relate the same thing. She's my partner in life, and adds the same benefits, the same qualities that a partner in business would add.
Yeah, I think it's helpful with all words to not only know the specific definition of that word, but also to relate it to lots of other things so that you have a fuller meaning of that definition. Hence the whole concept of a partnership. To me, everyone you work with, if you treat it as a partnership in certain ways, meaning that each of you are helping each other, but you also want to make sure that everyone still stays connected or understands completely what the boundaries are, what the limits are of the partnership. You can bring out the best in each other. For instance, as you work with an employee, as you treat them with respect, as you let them know how much you appreciate what they're contributing, they will go well beyond just putting in the time. They will really contribute to the organization as you treat them with respect and really see the good in them. It will really inspire them. And then as you kick ideas between the two of you, or the bigger the organization, between the many of you, you are able to really come up with better and better ideas, better and better ways of doing things, and you can work together well and accomplish a lot more than just one person can do by himself.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it for sure. We're actually going to have an episode dedicated to the treatment of employees, how we can help them feel happy and a part of the business. And I think a great way of doing that is helping them feel like they are, in a sense, a partner in the business. But yeah, we can talk more about that in that episode. I think that'll be very valuable to talk about our employees, how we can best help them, and that will be with the goal of boosting ratings, because the way that your employees treat your customers, the higher your ratings will be. So that's one way you can boost your ratings. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll save that for that episode. But yeah, thank you so much for that input there about the employees. Let's see. Do you have any final thoughts? Any key takeaways or calls to action that you might want to add?
I guess just like in summary, I'd like to say that going in business with my brother was just way necessary. I could not have done it by myself. And I'm not saying that entrepreneurs cannot do it by themselves, but he brought some very unique talents that really worked well together, that made it so that we could be a lot more successful together than I could be by myself. And we gave great service to our customers. They knew that when they called into the office, they would be dealing with a professional that was very knowledgeable and that really cared about people. And they also knew that when we came out to service their lawn, that we would give them the very best service possible. They knew that we cared, and they knew that their lawn would look great. And if they had any problems, they felt very comfortable calling us and letting us know, because they knew that we would come on out and take care of it, because we cared. We wanted their lawn to look great. I've always felt like if I treated my customers like I wanted to be treated, they would take care of me, and that has been the case. And it's the same thing with your partner. If you treat them the way you want to be treated, you can have a dynamic relationship, have a lot of fun together, and be very successful.
Right. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it really just depends on how big you want your business to be. Like you were saying, you probably could have gone at it, but it would have definitely been very stressful for you. You would have eventually brought on employees and whatnot. But having your brother as a partner is what took you to the next level. I've heard a lot of interviews with entrepreneurs, and they talk about this aspect of like it depends on how big you want your business to be. There are people, as you were saying, that do it alone, the solopreneurs. They are able to run a successful business, but it can only grow to be so big. So when you add on that extra help and bring on those people that are passionate and ready to work hard and push you forward and bring your business to the next level, that is a great thing to have if that is among your goals. So yeah, just think about how big do you want your business as you consider whether or not you want to have a business partner. We would love to hear from you. If you would like, you could leave a comment on our blog post for this episode. You can find that at firepreneurship.com/4. Or if you would like to be featured on this podcast, you can send us an email with a voice recording and title that email Podcast Voicemail. We will review it and we may include it in a future episode. We look forward to hearing from you. Our mission at firepreneurship.com is to help people like you achieve FIRE, financial independence, retire early, through entrepreneurship. We offer educational materials like this podcast, but most of all, we offer outsourcing services to help you automate the business you started to bring you financial independence so you can focus on what you love the most about running your business, or if you want, step away from your autonomous business altogether and retire early. Thank you for listening to this edition of the Firepreneurship Show. To show our appreciation, we've created a page full of helpful resources for you and your business. To access it, visit firepreneurship.com/resources. Again, that's firepreneurship.com/resources. It's time we signed our own Declaration of Financial Independence.